but I'm going to make this happen. So the advice I like to give, especially for Tune Up Tuesday, is treat it like a buffet table of sorts, where some things we go through, we talk about, you're going to recognize, you're going to know it, you're going to really be familiar with it, you're going to know it. Some of the stuff you're going to know, and you're going to know that's your jam. So put a lot of that on your plate. Just go ahead and use this as a reminder, right? A refresher. Some things, for whatever reason, you're going to look at it and say, you know what? That's not for me. Just like at a buffet, right? You might see some weird dish and it might have that weird combination of colors and smells and stuff that just, whatever. That's not my deal, right? Not interested. Treat the stuff the same way. Just leave it on the buffet table. But there are going to be some things that, are a little familiar or maybe, but new enough that they're not things that you're familiar with or have applied, but they're, for whatever reason, you're not against trying them. Those would be the things that I highly suggest you give a shot, give a try. See what they do for you. See if that might be the distinction of the adjustment or the calibration that takes things to a whole different level for you. Often that's how things are. And when we deal with philosophy, as we often do on Tune Up Tuesday, a modest change can make a huge result downstream from that modest change. So it's not linear. It's more like exponentials. You make a fundamental change to perception, that makes a fundamental change to behavior or habits. Downstream from that could be a fundamental change to your world, your circumstances. So with that being said, I'm going to try to ease into this. Hey, Alex. Thanks for tuning in to Tune Up Tuesday. Hope you're having a great week. Tuesday that feels like Monday. So today I'm going to jump right in. So I mentioned on one of my podcasts, I know y'all don't think I'm keeping up with myself, but I am, which is a challenge because I move at a good clip, man. I move along. But I mentioned on one of my last Tune Up Tuesdays, I think it was a Tune Up Tuesday, it might have been a podcast where I talked about the power of questions, or the magic and powerful questions. So, and I said, you know what, that would be a good thing to talk about. And you know what, it is. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Hey, Danielle. Hey, Aaron. Welcome to Tune Up Tuesday. So here's the idea, and it's a mashup of ideas that I'm putting together in a nice little gumbo of ideas, because I'm a chef like that. But it's a very useful way to put some framework around and control around how and what you are thinking. How and what you are thinking. It's actually structure around how you are thinking and what you're thinking. Hey, Pedro. Welcome to Tune Up Tuesday. So here's the idea. And this, I'm going to jump to it because I'm in the middle of stuff and I'm not going to, it comes from some really cool places, some really smart people, way smarter than me, but I'm going to just give you the thing, right? Because I'm pressed for time and I'm going to stay on Tuesday time frame so we don't have to come back on Wednesday. So here's the idea. Here's a very practical and very useful, in my opinion, very powerful way, a metaphor, if you will, that you can use as a potential framework to help put structure and control around some of your abstract, uncontrolled thoughts. Because those are the ones that you can't say serve you. If they're uncontrolled, you can't say they serve you. If you control them, then you can at least have intention behind them and at least try to have them serve you. So here's the metaphor, here's the idea. Imagine that your thoughts, your thinking is just a computer program, an operating system. But let's imagine that it's the operating system. Hey, Andre, Big Daddy Gaddy. Hey, imagine that it's an operating system for a video game, okay? Imagine that you're thinking, that your brain, your computer, is an operating system, but it's just an operating system for a video game. It's important that these components are a part of this metaphor. Now, and there's a glitch in the program. There's a glitch in the program that says, when you give this operating system a question, it must answer the question. So because it's a computer program, it answers the question, and it's a video game, which means it's not the real world. It's not constrained by the reality, by the limits of reality. It can actually make up an answer as long as the answer is logical. So let me give you an example, and then let me tell you why this metaphor is so powerful as we play it out in our life. So let's just say there's a scenario where there's a scene in the kitchen, there's spilt milk on the floor, and there's a baby sitting in a baby chair looking down at the spilt milk laughing. So you ask the computer a question, who spilt the milk? The computer might easily just spit out the answer, the baby spilt the milk. Now, the reason why the computer spits out that answer is only because it's logical. It has nothing to do with the reality of who spilt the milk. It's important you get this. It just is logical. There's milk on the floor, the baby's next to it, the baby's laughing. It's logical that the baby was the cause of the milk being on the floor, so it just gives the answer back, a logical answer back, the baby spilt the milk. Now, that's how the computer system works. Now, the reality is, a dog ran through the kitchen, a dog bumped the chairs wobbled because the dog bumped it, the milk fell over and the milk fell on the floor. That's what happened in reality. But I needed to give you those two realities so you understand clearly what I mean by the operating system has nothing to do with reality. It lives only in the world of logic. Now that you have that metaphor, here's how you use this as a useful tool, hopefully in your practical world of human performance, right? Imagine that that's the way your mind works, your brain works, and what you're doing when you ask it a question is you're just given that question, but now you realize that the answer that comes back just has to be logical, but it does not have to be true. Now, if giving that as an idea, the question you ask makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference because now you realize you are always going to get an answer to the question you ask. So here's the questions that I'm going to ask you. Here are the rhetorical questions that make you ponder. How many times when you ask yourself a question, how often are they set up to give you a negative answer? For example, why does my business never work for me? Why do I always meet the wrong type of people? Why do I meet the wrong type of girl or guy? Why are people so mean? Now that you understand, given this metaphor, some of you might take a little breath, a little pause, because you realize, holy crap, if I ask a negative question, it's going to be answered. And it's going to be answered in a way that's logical. Why does everybody I meet turn out to try to take me backwards? Well, the computer may say, because you're crappy and you only meet people that are like you, and it has nothing to do with reality. Remember the spilt milk analogy I gave you. It's just giving you something that's logical. So here's the way you make this a tool. Now that I'm giving you some examples as to, a lot of you are probably saying, wow, if that's true, that's hugely impactful. That's hugely impactful because most people, and now that I'm giving you this little thing to think about, listen to the language of your friends when you hang out or talk to them, and listen to how many negative questions they ask themselves or they ask the universe. Why does this always happen to me when they're talking about something negative? Why does this always, so the thing is this. The game you want to start to play with yourself as of now, should you take this mission possible. What you want to do is only ask yourself positive questions. If you find yourself asking yourself a negative question, you want to stop that question and reword it in a positive way. Let me give you an example. A common question people, and I use things that I hear all the time. Like the question I hear, I've heard 1,000 times is, man, I always meet these bad people. I always meet the wrong type of person. Why do I always meet the wrong type of person? If you hear yourself ask that question, stop, pause, reword that thing, that interrogative in a positive way. What can I do to meet better people? Remember, same programming, same computer system, it works. When you ask yourself a positive question, guess what it's going to do? It's going to answer it, and it's going to give you an answer based on logic. Now, here's the aha moment I hope you get from this. If you hear enough logical answers to enough questions, then you tend to believe that body of the gist of those body of questions. I hope that's making sense to you. If you ask yourself a lot of questions, and you get a lot of answers, and they're logical answers, that's shaping what you believe around that general body of knowledge. So if you ask yourself questions all day long about meeting the wrong type of people and why you do, and all day long you're getting these answers. And here's another thing about this computer system. It answers the question, but it doesn't necessarily answer the question overtly. It just gives you the answer, and some of these answers just kind of slip by you. It's a blink of an eye. You don't dwell on the answers. Why do I always meet the right type of people? And the answer is because you're a crappy person. It just floats by, but you hear it, you feel it, you feel that. And that goes towards this overarching belief system you have. And guess what? When you have when you have a lot of that happen and that becomes your belief system, not only do you ask yourself these negative questions, you tend to start to ask the questions that you already kind of know the answers to, and that you look out in your world for validation to prove that thing out. So if all of this crazy stuff is true, if you can just ask yourself positive questions all day long, then you're going to have these positive answers that are logical given to you all day long. It's going to change the nature of your belief system in such a way that you're going to be looking to validate completely different things out in the world of your experiences. Is this making sense to anybody? If it's making sense to you, give me a thumbs up. Oh, by the way, if you really want to help more people get the value of what I'm trying to do with these Tune-Up Tuesdays, if you can comment, like, or share this experience, it tells the Facebook algorithms, the robots of Facebook, to share it to more people in my group, because the group of people are seeing value in it. The algorithm says that more people that are my friends might want to see this. So if you want to have more people see this, make a comment or a like or give me a thumbs up or something like that. So that's the general idea. Now, I will say this. Most people, I'm in the group of most people. Everybody is, right? That's why it's called most people. Most people have been secretly taught. This is a lesson that you've been taught that you're not even aware of because it's so common. It is more common to ask negative questions of yourself and of others and of the universe than it is to ask positive questions. But most people think they're asking positive questions. So they put even more energy behind a negative question. Like most people think they want to do something to change their fill-in-the-blank situation, right? They want to make a change. But what they asked the question in the negative form. Why is this always this way? Why is this always so hard? Now that you understand how this video game computer works, it's going to give you an answer to that. Well, freak, it's always so hard because you're not smart enough. That's why it's always so hard. Ooh, imagine going away with that slight alteration of your belief system, especially now that you understand the baby example I gave with the milk on the floor has nothing to do with reality. The baby didn't knock the milk over, the dog did. But the computer program doesn't care about reality, doesn't care what the real answer to why it's always so hard. It just needs a logical answer. But if you ask yourself the more positive question, wow, how can I get better at this? What can I do so this does not feel hard? That's a positive question. You're going to get a positive answer. You get enough positive answers, it's going to change the nature of your belief system. It's going to change what you look at out in the world. What you look at, you will find, and what you find, you experience. So that's how it works, guys. In my crazy world, that's a truism. You know, what you say affects what you believe. What you believe affects what you look for. What you look for determines what you find. And you get exactly what you deserve because you shouldn't have been asking for it in the first place. See how I pull that circle around?